Hey guys, welcome to Multitaskr. I'm Joe Frosto, CEO and founder of Multitaskr, a marketplace where we unite homeowners and the best service providers in your area. But today I want to welcome you to our podcast. It's called the Home Solutions Network Podcast, and we're going to be introducing the top service providers, clients that have used our marketplace, and some of the people that direct this company, and very exciting stories. The goal of the podcast is to save you time, save you money, give you insights, give you tips, and create value for your home. So come on in and let's check it out. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us at Multitaskr Home Solution Network Podcast, Season 2. As you know, Season 2 is the golden year of the ADU. It's a very hot product and everybody's asking more and more on it. So we decided to utilize all the knowledge that we're giving to homeowners and actually bring it into a podcast format so we can invite experts on every part of the process and you guys can ask questions and learn as we go. Today I have the pleasure of having Mr. Marcus Carter here. Thank you for joining us. He's the founder of G&T Financial Services and also of Mesa Fund Control and Escrow. Marcus, thank you for being here.
Thanks for
I've
having
known
me.
Marcus for, I think it's been 8 years now. I know we'll have a very good, interesting conversation here today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Marcus, tell us a little bit about yourself, just so consumers can know who you are and,
Sure.
and what they can get a better knowledge of what we're going to be talking today.
Sure. Yeah, you bet. Well, I'm the founder of G&T Financial, and we are a small boutique lender really in La Mesa. We opened our doors in '99, so we've been around a while. And we primarily focus on privately funded real estate loans. So we fund loans that banks typically don't make or can't make for a number of different reasons, and primarily in Southern California. So that's one aspect of my business that we do, and then the other business that I'm involved in is Mesa Fund Control and Escrow, and that business is an independent escrow company, and we do really, Joe, we do two different types of escrow. We do traditional escrow services for people that are buying and selling real estate and financing real estate. But we also do construction fund control escrows, which is really a holdback, typically for lenders. We hold dollars on various types and just about any type of construction project. And then we disperse those dollars for the lender to all of the contractors and subcontractors and material suppliers involved in a construction project. So those are two of the aspects and two of the businesses that I'm involved in today.
Great. Well, again, glad for you to be here. So what led you to start? I know you started on the origination side. Yeah. So what led you to start there? Why mortgage industry? Why real estate?
Gosh. So you're taking me back a ways, but I graduated from University of San Diego here in San Diego in '94. I'm dating myself. But at that time, the real estate industry and the economy was fairly slow. I mean, we were going through kind of coming out of a recession, and there weren't a lot of great opportunities for a new college grad. And I had the opportunity to move to Orange County and work at a small residential mortgage company. And so I did that, for about 4.5 years, and had really good success. Got my feet wet in the mortgage lending business and really enjoyed it. And I was exposed at that time to private finance, private money, hard money, if you will. And I had an opportunity to come back down to San Diego at the end of 1999, and I did that. And I started G&T Financial. And so that's really what brought me back to San Diego and kind of how I got my feet wet in the lending business. So, yeah.
And on the fund control side?
Yeah, so through, starting in '99, we were lending. We did a lot of boutique lending, a lot of private money lending in the construction space. And, when you lend on construction dollars, you can't just disperse to the borrower. You have to make sure that your collateral actually gets built. So the whole concept of having a secure loan when you make a construction loan is you have to have value in excess of what your loan is to make a good solid loan. So the way to do that in construction is to make sure that you're dispersing those dollars in phases. So when we started doing construction loans, we were utilizing a third-party fund control company. And at that time, there were only 2 companies in La Mesa, or in San Diego, that were doing construction fund control. Dixie Line, which is now our competitor, and La Mesa Lumber Fund Control. So fast forward to, so we made a lot of loans and we utilized La Mesa Lumber Fund Control. And fast forward to 2007, and I got a phone call from the manager at La Mesa Lumber Fund Control telling me that they were shutting down their fund control business. And I thought, wow, this is a niche business. It's an absolute needed business in the construction lending business and industry. So, so through some conversations and some discussions with the manager at La Mesa, we partnered and we started La Mesa Fund Control and Escrow. So that's really how it happened. They were exiting the business. La Mesa Lumber was exiting the business, and we decided to sort of pick up the ball and run with it where they were leaving off. And so we've been doing it ever since.
That's great.
And so we do business with a lot of large banks, a lot of institutional lenders, some credit unions, a lot of other finance lenders around the country that utilize our services to disperse their dollars on their construction projects. So,
Great.
So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's good.
So let's take it back in regards to, we're going to focus on the process of building an ADU, right?
Sure.
We can talk about any construction, but right now let's focus on the ADU. When consumers contact us, the first thing they want to know is, can I build it, right? So we cover that for them. And then the second thing is, how am I going to pay for it, right? So I know you're an expert on that end. So let's start there, right? What for you, what are you going to be looking at for you to qualify someone on a loan? Let's say I'm a homeowner and I'm intrigued to build an ADU. I've heard great things about it. Let's say I have this rental property and I'm getting rent there, but I know I can utilize more, but I don't even know where to start, right? And then ADUs is going to be $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Doesn't make sense. It sounds like a lot of money. Am I going to recoup my investments? So what are you looking at first from a lender standpoint?
Sure, great question. Well, first I want to say you guys are solving an excellent problem within this industry. There's a lot of buzz around ADUs. People want them, but they don't know where to start. And I think you guys are really on the cusp of really solving that problem for consumers and giving them the comfort that they can actually do it and showing them the roadmap. But you're right. The second question is how do I finance it? And so that's where we come into play. With any construction project, what I generally tell consumers is there's a couple things that you really need to look at closely. The first is probably your lendable equity in your property. The question would be, do you have enough lendable equity from a lender standpoint that they're going to look at your property? How much equity do you have in that property? What's it going to be worth when you finish that project? So current lendable equity, and then also what's it going to be worth upon the completion of that project? So it really encompasses analysis on what it's worth now and what it's going to be worth in the future once that ADU is complete. So, and there's a number of ways to get to that valuation, but that's probably one of the first questions we're going to look at. Second question we would look at is their ability to borrow. Do they have the ability to service that debt from an income standpoint? We're going to take into consideration what kind of rent's going to be generated on that ADU, but do they have the ability to service that debt? Now, especially if it's a consumer loan. A consumer loan is one where you're lending to an owner-occupied borrower. And there are rules and regulations in place and laws in effect that you have to take into consideration their ability to repay, which is important to a lender and it's regulated. So that's an important equation as well, or factor that you have to look at. And the third would be credit. How is the overall credit situation? Do they have a good track record? And if they don't have a good track record, or maybe there's a few blemishes, what's the explanation for that? Does it make sense? Did they go through a crisis or something that happened in their business or in their life that maybe caused a credit blip? Is it a one-time event, or is it a pattern? So all of those things are taken into consideration when we look at financing an ADU.
So take advantage that you're here with and all the knowledge that you have on the lending side. right now, a couple of things that we're starting to see is some of our clients that are doing ADUs with us, they'll also own a small commercial building.
Sure.
And right now, with what we're going through with the pandemic, suddenly they went from performing to non-performing because they had a type of business that right now with the pandemic they can't open or they're closed. One of the things that is happening is that the cities, because of the shortage of housing, pushing affordable housing, pushing ADUs, they're allowing mixed use now to be more accessible to them, right? They don't know where to start. Another thing that we're starting to solve now is we're helping them do that, right? We're helping them do the feasibility study, see the design, see what makes the most sense for the ROI, and then again, we marry it with the financing. So as from that standpoint, what would you recommend to that consumer?
So for instance, a consumer that has a commercial building that maybe they want to repurpose or they want to create some residential use space within that commercial building. I'm assuming that's kind of what you're talking about.
Correct.
I think there is a big demand for that. I think that you're starting to see some opportunity at the city level for them to allow that to happen, whether it be through zoning changes or conditional use permits. We're starting to hear some rumblings of those things happening, and I think it makes sense. I mean, ultimately, if we have a glut of commercial office space or commercial retail space, it only makes sense, especially with a lack of housing right now, for us to be able to do that. So, and the city definitely, and the city and county need to both get on board with allowing some of these owners to repurpose these buildings. I think that how we answer that question, and if a property is going to be approved for that particular zoning change or that particular use change, they probably need to look at that feasibility study that you're going to do for them. And then they would come back to us if it is a project that's going to be approvable or doable, if you will. It's pretty easy for us to do the math calculations on what sort of income that's going to generate based upon rents, and we can run a pro forma out to see what kind of net operating income that businesses or that property is now going to produce. And then we come back in and sort of do evaluation. So we kind of back into the loan amount that's needed or that they're going to be able to qualify for based upon that, income that property is now going to produce. So.
Great. That's what I would say. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So definitely feasibility study first.
For sure.
Understand if we can build it.
Yes.
And then see if it pencils out, right?
That's exactly right.
If it's going to cover the debt based on what we're trying to build.
Yeah, the commercial valuations are different than residential valuations, and it's really all based upon net operating income. So, for these commercial property owners to have an ability to convert some of these properties to create cash flow, it's just a great opportunity right now. So
great.
Yeah.
So let's say the homeowner doesn't have the luck of meeting Marcus and they talk to another lender.
Sure.
What are the 3 things that you think they should always ask to make sure they make the right decision?
Well, I think that they need to be prepared to answer those questions on credit, collateral, equity, lendable equity, and their income. They need to know going in exactly kind of where they stand so that they can present that to any lender that they're looking to get financing from. And terms and conditions on the loan. If there is a loan offered, what are the terms and conditions and why? Understanding why that lender is A, offering the loan that they're offering, and B, if there's terms that maybe aren't quite as acceptable or they're not able to do it, why aren't they able to do it? So it's important for the consumer to have an understanding as to why they got the loan approved in the way that they did and what terms they got offered. But consequently, if they don't get approved, why they didn't? What was specific and why they didn't get that approval? Was it equity? Does that lender not have the ability to look at what the future value is going to be on that property with the ADU? So it's important to ask those questions.
Great. Yeah, one of the things that we're working on is when clients cannot get the approval with a lender, let's say it's with you or with anybody else, we're also taking it a little bit further and actually helping them create a plan to be able to qualify later down the road. So There's usually always a way,
Mm-hmm.
and if there isn't,
Yeah.
we try to be super straightforward with everyone and tell them, look, there isn't right now.
Right.
This could be a path, or this could be a path, and then they'll make their decision. But
Yeah.
we're all about educating consumers and giving them all the tools to make the
Definitely.
best decision, right?
Definitely. Absolutely.
So let's say now they have the financing, they have a better idea on that. They're going to move forward. They understand what's going to cost them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they come back to us. We're helping them go through the process. We design, we submit the plans, and then we're going to start construction, right? One of the things to me that also, I started in the mortgage industry in 2002,
Mm-hmm.
and I think most homeowners, I would say 190, let's say 95% of them, know what escrow is, right? Because escrow, when you're going to buy a property, you go through escrow.
Sure.
Right? It's a norm in the industry. Everybody goes through escrow.
Right.
They're an independent third party
Right.
that holds the money. You're going to have a commitment to buy this property. Okay, here's the funds.
Mm-hmm.
They don't release it to either party until the transaction is done,
Right.
and then they release the funds to the sales to the seller,
Right.
etc. Right?
Right.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Am I missing
Absolutely.
something?
No, you're right on the money.
And so when I started in doing a couple of deals in construction back in 2006, I think was my first one. That's when I heard about fund control. I didn't really understand what it was
Mm-hmm.
because it just sounded different.
Sure.
And then I understood, and I
Yeah.
said, okay, fund control is the same thing as escrow.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is that nobody's buying or selling.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, someone is going to lend based on a product
Mm-hmm.
that isn't built yet,
Yeah.
and they're going to break it down in phases of building that product, and the funds will be released once it's double, triple checked that that product finished that first phase.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
So, I saw it, I understood it. Some lenders use it, some lenders weren't using it at that
Mhm.
time, and I think it's just been getting more and more of people using fund control and understanding the value.
Sure.
Especially the banks,
Yeah.
because a lot of banks, I believe that before the crash of 2008, they got taken advantage of,
Mhm.
and they didn't have someone to be their eyes and ears and make sure that what they said they were going to build with that money got
Right.
built, right?
Right.
And so I think that's where you saw the value in 2007, and that's why you guys have grown as a company in fund control. And one of the other things that is important is that it's a very niche industry,
Mhm.
but I think it's going to get more known as more people do construction in their home,
For sure.
because I believe that fund control is huge in the commercial end,
Mhm.
because most institutions understand that. But with a residential, most people do smaller jobs, so they don't
Right.
think there's a need for that.
Right.
But I think there definitely is a need for it, right?
Mhm.
Especially on ADUs.
Absolutely.
Even if we're doing everything for you, we still prefer to have a third party involved that is supervising that.
Sure.
So there's full transparency, right?
And that's you hit the nail on the head, is transparency. And that's exactly what it creates. It creates a transparency that consumers or homeowners don't get when they're dealing directly with a contractor. And it allows the money to be set aside. Everybody gets weekly or monthly reports as money's dispersed. They can see where every dollar is going. They know who's getting paid. And it creates a comfort level for all parties, in addition to the contractor, because it provides the contractor the assurances that the money actually is there for his project, instead of just relying upon the homeowner's word that, yeah, I have the money to pay you. Okay, no, it's actually set aside with a third party that's holding it, and as you get completed, or as you go through the project, you're actually going to get paid. So it's good for really all sides.
Mhm.
So.
And why? Okay, so people understand fund control is a good thing, especially when they are going to spend
Sure.
a nice amount of money on rehabbing or building an extra unit or two in their
Yeah.
property. Why use La Mesa fund control?
Yeah, great question. We are probably known as the quickest and fastest and most responsive fund control companies out there. We're not massive. We're small. We're nimble. We're privately owned, and we care. And I'll tell you that we get our inspections done very quickly. Our inspections are done So for instance, when a draw request comes in, let's say it comes in on a Monday, normally we're going to have an inspection back by Wednesday, which is really fast. Most other fund control companies out there will take a week to get that inspection back. And as you know, in construction, time is money. So the quicker we can get our inspection reports back, the quicker that we can get money in the hands of the contractor and the subcontractors, the quicker that project's going to get built, the more money that the consumer or the owner is going to save. So we're fast and efficient. I would say that's the number one reason to use us. And we're priced extremely competitively as well.
And do you service only San Diego?
No, we serve really the whole United States. Okay. We're nationwide. Primarily, I'll tell you, mostly on the West Coast, only because most of our business is driven to us by lenders. And typically, most of the lenders that we do business with right now are in California. So, but our reach is nationwide. We have the ability to do business in any state. So we have projects in probably 15 states right now. Probably 85% of it's California. So.
And what do people? How can people hire you for fund control? So let's say they do have a construction job that they're going to start, and the lender doesn't require fund control. Do you even recommend them, if they're going to have the money, to just use fund control?
I do. I recommend it. I recommend it. It creates a budget. It creates a tracking system. It creates a checks and balance system. One of the things that we do for the consumer, for the homeowner, for the lender, is we collect all the lien waivers. So we're collecting all the lien waivers and all the invoices for everybody that gets paid on a project. So nobody's going to come back to one of our projects and say, hey, I didn't get paid, or file a lien against that project. So, and if they do, if they haven't get paid, we're going to get notification of it. So we'll make sure that they do get paid. So for why that's important is every one of these general contractors has subs. Sometimes general contractors don't pay their subs. Those subs can actually lien your property. If your general contractor doesn't pay the guy who's doing the tile work, or the framer, or the concrete guy, those guys can place a lien on your property. So one of the reasons it's important to have fund control is we're going to collect all the lien waivers and all the mechanics lien releases from the general contractor and also from the subs, so that you have the assurance that your project isn't going to get liened and that everybody's actually going to get paid. So I recommend fund control for anybody that's doing a project that's sizable. And when I say sizable, I'd say over $40,000 or $50,000. So, yeah.
Great. No, and I think I definitely recommend everybody to use fund control, especially La Mesa fund control. But I do see it as a huge value, and the more that consumers start utilizing bigger projects in their residence, I think it definitely makes sense to use a fund control company. And I know I'll share a little bit with the people that are seeing us, but you and I are talking about seeing how we can join forces into what we're building with the marketplace in your fund control company, to be able to offer that service to more homeowners and make it simpler for them to use it. So I'm excited for that, and I think it'll be something that people will really enjoy, and it'll create more transparency in the industry.
For sure.
I agree.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to flip it a little bit into more of your business on the lending side, because I know also another thing that I'm seeing with homeowners is they want to actually invest, in real estate, and they see different opportunities. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities right now with people buying properties that they can build an extra ADU on, or buying small commercial buildings and doing some sort of mixed use. And then also just investing itself on the lending side, right? So if you want to discuss a little bit about also, I know you do private lending, and you have investors that have worked with you for a while now. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, and maybe some people are interested on working with you on that.
Sure. Well, your first trend that you talked about, you hit on, I'd like to speak to that, because it's definitely a trend that we're seeing. We're seeing a flight to suburban areas. And we're seeing people that are moving out of the cities because they no longer have to work right next to, or live right next to where they work, to more rural areas. And specifically, they're looking for properties where they can buy a home and put an ADU on it. And Some of it's for purposes of moving a relative into that property, into that ADU. Some of it's for income generation. So, to offset the cost of ownership of that property. So both reasons are great, and they serve different purposes, but we're absolutely seeing that as a trend. And we're seeing people that are looking specifically for that. So that's exciting for you guys, especially. So, but on the lending side, we, as a boutique lender, as a private lending platform, we look for transactions that make sense and clients that have lendable equity that, maybe they can't get the capital they need from their local bank or from a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac type of product. And we try to come up with creative alternatives and look at their situation from a global standpoint or a macro standpoint and say, okay, what are some of the ways that we could get you the capital that you might need to build this ADU? Whether it be build an ADU on an investment property or multiple investment properties they own, or their primary residence. We'll look at both for them. We've actually even we've had a couple of commercial property owners that own multifamily properties adding ADUs to their multifamily. So specifically, 10-unit property in SDSU area where they're converting 2 of the garages. Wow. So it's a 10-unit property. They're converting 2 of the garages to ADUs. Great structure. They're adding a ton of value to this property, but they're converting those 2 garage spaces to ADUs. Wow. So you're taking garage space that was earning 0 revenue and taking it up to they're generating, I don't know, $3,000 or $4,000 more a month in income on this property. So wow. It's huge.
So I know that the rules changed at the beginning of last year. Right. I think it was 2017 when they started changing it, but there was really a big push at the beginning of last year. When did you start seeing from a lender standpoint that shift on ADUs? Did you see it right away last year? Or?
Well, I think the buzz has been coming on, and I think that COVID's perpetuated this. Mm-hmm. The move out of urban areas to more suburban areas has pushed it, and COVID's been a big factor in that. But I definitely think the buzz around ADUs has been growing. Rents have been climbing steadily for the last 5 years, probably 7 years. You've got record low interest rates. You've got very little supply on the residential housing sector. Very little supply on available homes for sale. Houses are very expensive, and people are looking for places to live, looking for places to cohabitate with other family members, or generate other income on that particular property that is expensive right now. Mm-hmm. So I think an ADU really solves a lot of problems, and it solves a lot of things for homeowners. So it's exciting, and so I think that buzz is going to continue to grow, and I think you're going to see more and more of this.
Do you think there'll be more demand to also lend and create different lending products for that?
I do. I think that the market generally, as a market grows, I mean, over my 25-year career so far in this business, as a market grows, lenders come to the table. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see some institutional lenders that come to the table with a product geared specifically towards ADUs. And I think that's going to happen certainly within the next year. I do believe that.
And so let's say that I'm a homeowner. What would be the thing you would look at first to consider an ADU? Right? You start hearing all these buzzwords: ADU, granny flat. You're intrigued by it, right. But why would I even go that route? Like, what's going to be the first thing I'm going to think of to go that route? Well,
the first thing that me as a lender that I'm going to evaluate is your lendable equity. Okay. So what is your lendable equity? If you just bought your house with an FHA loan and you put 3.5% down, and you qualified for it, but you closed 3 months ago, you probably don't have enough lendable equity. Mm-hmm. But we're going to look at your situation from a global standpoint. We're going to say, do you own other properties? Mm-hmm. Maybe you do. Maybe you inherited a property from your mom and dad, and you've got another property that you can borrow against. Maybe you have a small commercial property you can borrow against. So there's other ways besides just your primary residence that you can access capital for the construction of that ADU. Now, if you don't, if it's just an FHA loan and you just got it 3 months ago, you probably don't have that situation. You may need to wait a little bit of time, build some equity, pay down that debt. So that's really the first thing we're going to look at is what's your ability to access capital from a macro standpoint, you personally. So, and we'll help you do that. We'll walk you through that. So, yeah.
Great. So people get intimidated with the process of the ADU. And I think that with the way that you go about it on the lending side and the way that we go about it on helping you understand if you can build it and how to design it, I think we're going to start solving more and more of that issue for homeowners. Why do you think it's going to be people should contact you, should contact Multitaskr based on what you know that we're building? How do you think we're going to simplify that process for them?
Well, starting any construction process is a daunting task, and it can be very intimidating. And I think having an expert like Multitaskr to hold a consumer's hand, to walk them through the process from feasibility to drawing the plans to doing the engineering, completing the engineering, and then walking it through the approval process with the county, I think solves a world of concern for most consumers that just don't deal with that process on a day-to-day basis. For me in the lending business, I don't deal with that process on a day-to-day basis. So it can be very daunting and intimidating for your average consumer to even think about where do I start. So I think you guys are doing a fabulous job in solving that challenge and giving them a comfort level that they can actually get this done. What we can do is analyze their access to capital and help them solve their access to capital in the most cost-effective way and the creative ways to be able to access that capital so that they can actually pay for that project that you're going to walk them through. So I think it's a good team. So.
Great. I agree. And we're just going to keep helping more and more homeowners as we go.
Absolutely.
And what are your thoughts on the VR? I know I've shown you a little bit. I have a little surprise for you right now after we're done. But what on the VR side, do you think that's relevant for what is going on in the real estate industry?
Well, I do. I was super impressed by what you guys are doing from a virtual reality standpoint. And I had very little experience with VR, I will tell you that. But what I saw was obviously nothing like I've ever seen. And I think one of the things about consumers and people in general is they're visual. And people have a hard time imagining what their new kitchen might look like, what an ADU might look like in their backyard. And how is it going to fit? How is it going to flow? What is it going to look like? What fixtures am I going to have in it? What material are we going to use? And that VR concept answers it perfectly from their home. And they can look at it, they can see it, they can understand it. And you guys are doing an awesome job in giving that visual experience that they really need to conceptualize it. So, yeah, it's awesome.
That's good. You liked it. So hopefully you're gonna like what we're gonna show you. But we're working on a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, I think consumers, most people are very visual. So I think what happened there was with the pandemic. At the beginning of it, most people didn't want anyone at their house, and they wanted to start a project with us. And I decided to try it out with one client, and it worked, and then the next client, and it worked. And next thing you know, now it's part of what we do when we're designing and making sure everything works for you, looking at the financing. Then we start creating that actual construction in VR for the consumer so they can make sure that they know what they're going to commit to, right? It's scary to commit to $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 and not knowing how it's going to look. And you're trying to visualize it in a 2D plan or 3D plan. But when you actually do it on VR, it just completely takes you there. And it's very interesting. And we're able to put it in your actual backyard and your actual property. So excited. I love to see the impression of the consumers when they actually see that and they go, oh my God, this is going to be my house. It's really, really
exciting. Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah.
It is.
It's fun to see them get excited too.
It is. So Marcus, I mean, I think we covered pretty much every single aspect of fund control and the lending when it comes to the construction side of things. Anything else that you think I'm missing that homeowners should listen, that people out there that are thinking about doing construction and understanding and lending better? Anything you think I'm missing that we should bring up or that we should comment?
Well, my advice is always for consumers is work with people that know what they're doing. Work with people that you trust, that know what they're doing, that come with a good track record, and put your faith and trust in those types of people that are going to steer you in the right direction. But go into it with eyes wide open. Protect yourself. Use fund control. Again, use a multitasker to help you walk through this process. But the ADU market, I think, is here to stay. I think it's growing, and I think it's just a fabulous way for people to build equity in their house, to create a second revenue stream, or to be able to move a family member in, and allow them to have a place to live. So affordable. So
Great. Well, guys, I'm happy that Marcus was able to come. I know he's a busy guy, but one of the biggest things that we connect is that we both have the same ethics. We want you to succeed, and everything we tell you is to try to look out for your best interest, right? If it doesn't make sense, we're also going to tell you it doesn't make sense, because we want to keep you as a client for life. And so we're going to keep inviting more professionals to the podcast to kind of guide you through that process. We went through the design part, we went through the permitting part. Now we went through the financing part. The next person I'm going to invite is going to be an appraiser that is very well known in the ADU industry to help you understand the future value of it. And then we're going to keep going on that pattern. Maybe we'll have Marcus back later again once we're actually building more. We have a lot of deals in the pipeline now that we're going to be building. So eventually we're also going to take you to those build outs, and you're going to be able to see us talk to clients that actually used us and went through the process. So excited to do that for the year. It's going to be a very interesting year. We're happy that you're joining us, Marcus. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
2021 should be a really good year, and we should be able to help out a lot of people. And thank you, guys. We'll talk soon, and I'll see you on the next episode. And now our guest will experience Multitaskr's virtual reality platform. So you think of it as a lender, as a consumer, and as fund control. And then you tell us after you're done if this is going to be value for the consumers or not. So
all right.
The intention here is you are going into our virtual showroom, right? So consumers will be able to walk in through here. That'll be the entrance on your left side.
Right,
and then
back here.
and then that image that you see on top will be a video welcoming the consumer. So let's say that you want us to guide you through this process to design your ADU or your kitchen or your bathroom.
Okay.
We'll meet you here with, we do a Zoom call, and we'll meet you here with the video, and you'll be able to see each other in video in here.
Got it.
So you walk in and you can walk straight. And if you look to your left, you'll see a kitchen.
Yep.
And here you'll be able to design your own kitchen. So you'll be changing the layouts and the different, let's say you like a barn look or a modern look.
Sure.
And it'll change it. And based on your zip code, it'll show you the average cost of that type of kitchen in your zip code.
Got it.
It'll show you also what typical financing would be for that amount.
Got it.
And then you'll be able to literally save it, share it in your social media account, create a profile, and then carry it over to be able to purchase things, right? So also we're going to be plugging it into companies like Wayfair and Home Depot and different companies that sell the products.
Yep.
So you'll be able to know which type of product you're getting from what company, et cetera, et cetera. We're working on, by the end of the year, you should be able to lift things, open things, and actually even smell things as well.
No kidding.
Yes. So
that is incredible.
That is the kitchen. And then if you look to the back, you'll see bathroom. So we're going to work on kitchen, bathroom over here. So those are the bathroom.
Got it.
You can't move it yet, but it already works to move. Hopefully next time you're here, you'll be able to actually move it, and the layouts and everything will change. We're going to have a VR treadmill. So you'll be able to plug into the treadmill here and literally walk or even run in the showroom.
Like you're walking around it.
Our most popular ADU right now that we're selling is this.
Is this one right here?
Yep.
So what's the average cost to build this ADU for somebody, Joe?
Right now, I would say the average is coming up to be around anywhere from 90,000 to about 130,000.
Got it.
Which is pretty accessible.
Yeah. And this is approximately how many square feet? Maybe 275, 300?
This is a 300 square feet.
300 square foot, yeah. It's a great layout though.
Actually, we have a special with the 300 that if everything is the layout, the land, everything is simple to build out. There's no crazy hills or anything like that. Exactly. Yeah. We're actually selling these for $69,000.
Really?
Yes. So we call it the 69 special. So
69 special. That's awesome. Beautiful. It's really gorgeous.
And at the end of the day, we're an overall marketplace, right? And so we want consumers to be able to make sure that they're getting a great deal and that they can keep utilizing us for everything else, right? So let's say they build the first part of the ADU and then they want everything else, they can work on phases or whatever, and we'll help them with everything else, right? But the overall goal here of the VR is just to visually see what it is that you're looking for.
It's killer. It's really awesome.
And so the other step that we want to accomplish is we'll keep evolving from here. So right now we're starting ADU, kitchen, and bathroom, but eventually you'll have different corners of all your homes, pools, etc. And then the overall goal is to do this as a showroom to where you could even do it at a kiosk or at a mall.
Sure.
And people can design their home as they go shopping, right?
Yeah.
And
what great technology. Amazing technology. I want one. You can build me one.
Let's build you one.
Right on.
So that's the showroom. That's the first part of the showroom. So this will be tied into everything, to the marketplace. So if you design something here and you already have a profile for your house, you'll be able to save it in your profile. And let's say you say, okay, I want to move forward. Then the dashboard that you're going to create in your profile, you could also be able to track the project management of the construction, etc. Hey guys, thank you for joining Multitaskr's Home Solution Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our next podcasts. Remember, every single podcast, we're going to give you different advice on how to save time, how to save money, and how to create value. Check us out at gomultitaskr.com. Click subscribe.